As we consider planning for improvement, it's important to understand what elements go into an improvement phase. This video will provide a brief overview of some of the elements that we should be considering as we think about our improvement plan, as well as what those look like in action at the club. We have found when an organizational is successful at continuous quality improvement, their improvement phase includes three things: staff development, organizational development, and measuring success. Staff development is really thinking about training and coaching. What are we providing to our staff to ensure that they have the knowledge and resources that they need to help the club make progress towards their goals? Your staff should have paid professional development time to take trainings that increase their knowledge and give them resources that will help them help the club achieve its goals. For instance, if your club has a goal to increase emotional safety, your staff should be participating in trainings such as building community or staff to youth interactions. Both of these are examples of trainings that can either be accessed via instructor led options. You can find a calendar at bgca.net on the training page. Also, if you have staff that have been through the NTI National Trainer Initiative certification or the Youth Program Quality Methods certification, they can offer all of those series of trainings in person at your club. Also, on Spillett Leadership University, all of those same sessions have been adapted to be distance learning, meaning that your staff can go on at any time, individually or as a group, to go through a series of trainings that will be aligned to your goal. You should also be considering coaching. Studies have shown that when we add coaching to our staff development, it increases the knowledge that is retained from the various training opportunities that we offer staff. If staff go to a training and have no follow up after that training, they're less likely to retain all of the information from that training. If, however, they go to that training and their supervisor is aware of what the content of that training was, and in coaching sessions, they are asked how they are utilizing that new knowledge and information. They are much more likely to retain that and actually put it into their practice. This is why staff coaching is so important. When you think about one on one coaching, you should really think about using this as a time for staff to reflect on their individual goals that were created in order to help the club move forward on their club goals. During this time, you should have a set action plan that you are checking in with your staff on to make sure that they are making progress towards their individual goals. This is also a time where you can check in if you are asking staff to learn new staff practices or implement new staff practices. You can set up an observation, and then based on that observation, allow time for staff to reflect on the adoption of the new practice, as well as giving you the opportunity to then provide feedback based on your observation. Staff meetings are also a time that can be used for coaching. Group coaching is a great way to make sure that a team is making progress towards their goal. This time should be repurposed from updating each other on what is going on, just kind of general updates or updates from the leadership to the staff. These are the typical things that we see in staff meetings. It's important to reutilize staff meeting time as a way to move forward your quality improvement. You can use this time to assess where you're at on your goal progress. So we will get into how you measure for success, The staff meeting is where the whole team can talk about that measurement. Additionally, this is the time in which you would assess to see if your improvement strategies are actually working. So, if you have a goal that you're all working towards and you have made progress towards, is it actually having an impact in the way that you thought it would? If not, use your staff meeting time to problem solve, to think about what you can do. This is also a time to track completed action items and hold each other accountable on the progress towards the goal, as well as update on what the upcoming action items are, again, to make sure that everybody is on the same page and aligned with what needs to be happening. We also want to make sure that we're thinking about organizational development. Organizational development is an incredibly broad topic. There are two that we are going to think through in the context of supporting continuous quality improvement. Policies need to be in place that will support successful CQI. For example, I mentioned in staff development that a club should have paid professional development time. It should be a policy that the club ensures that all staff have at least some paid professional development time throughout the year. Additionally, policies such as allowing time staff to plan for their programs are going to ensure that your organization is successful at their continuous quality improvement. We've also found that there are many structures that can support CQI and others that become a barrier to continuous quality improvement. An example of this is staffing. Do you have the right staff in place to support quality improvement work? Making sure that you have staff that are dedicated to the quality improvement work, that is a written part of their work scope, will ensure, again, that you have a successful continuous quality improvement process. And lastly, we're going to think through a little bit about measuring for success. As we assess our clubs in various ways, it's important and make goals against the data that comes out of that assessment. It's important to make sure that we are checking our data along the way, that we are making progress. Oftentimes, what happens is that we assess ourselves maybe once a year. If we think about the National Youth Outcomes Initiative, or NYOI, we know that this happens every spring. We receive the data from our annual NYOI survey in late spring, early summer. We might build some plans based off of that data, but we're not actually going to look at the data again or check to see that the data is moving in the direction that we want it to until a full year when we do NYOI again. Data pulse checks allow you to check in real time to make sure that you are actually impacting your data in the way that you set out to do. There are 4 data buckets: club experience, youth outcomes, staff practices, and attendance and participation. All of those data buckets have different ways in which you can do data pulse checks. Club experience and youth outcomes, for example, are measured by the National Youth Outcomes Initiative. If you go onto the CQI Toolkit or onto bgca.net, you can download the Pulse Checks Guide. In fact, you can find the Pulse Checks Guide on both the Assess page and the Improve page of the CQI Toolkit. These give you quick ways to assess your youth's club experience if that is what you are trying to move. So again, let's say that you have a goal of increasing your emotional safety at your club. And there are the various questions in NYOI that assess what our youth's club experience is, and that assesses the emotional safety. Thinking about quick ways to check and see those couple of questions against club experience is going to allow us to make sure that we're making progress. This is true for our NYOI youth outcomes data as well. Again, for both of these, go on to the CQI toolkit and download the Pulse Checks guide that is both on the Assess and Improve page. This walks you through exactly how to do pulse checks for both your club experience and your youth outcomes. It gives you examples of formats to ask these questions, as well as a full question bank that you can ask. Additionally, if you are assessing your staff practice, most commonly, we have found that clubs use the youth program quality assessment. The way that you do data pulse checks is to assess against the various scales that you are hoping to see improve. So, again, if you have the overall goal of increasing emotional safety, and what you have said is that you will include icebreakers into your programs and increase adult to youth partnerships, you would take both of these scales from the youth program quality assessment and periodically observe your staff to make sure that they are making progress on those goals. Attendance and participation might look like you made a goal to increase the participation in your Smart Girls program. You'll want to periodically pull that data and make sure that you are collecting program specific attendance in order to make sure that you have made progress in that attendance and participation goal. This is a general overview of what is involved in an improvement phase. There is obviously more that clubs can do within an improvement phase, but it's important that your improvement phase is robust and involves more than just one element, such as staff development.